All I know is I just saw that mini chat bot and I own a blog and I was like, that is the coolest shit I have ever seen. Because I've been managing an email list and I'm just like, it's a pain in the butt. Everything's moving to Facebook groups and it's moving to a lot of different other stuff. And then I have to worry about delivery and all that garbage. And I was like, so now I can move all my subscribers over to ManyChat. I was like, that is super, super cool. I'm actually going to leave here and go set that up as soon as I get home. I've already played with that platform. Also, I really want to thank the team here for what they've put together. I was doing an interview. I don't know. How many of you saw me yesterday by chance? Okay, quite a few of you. I did an interview after that, and one of the things I told them, if I ever built an event, which I started to and decided I didn't want to be in the event business, I would have built this. And they've done such an amazing job here, and I'm really excited and inspired to be up here on the stage and that they've invited me to do this. So I'm going to talk a bit today. Typically my message is a bit different. It's not going to involve tips and tactics. I mean, I'm going to share a couple of things with you. But, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to build very, very big businesses. And what I'm sharing with you today is some of that stuff and how I approach those problems versus a one-off solution. And Facebook changes their mind all the time on how they want to quantify traffic, and your bidding strategies have to change. We're gonna cover something a little bit different here. So no tactics, no tips and tricks, right? They allow you to scale for a very short amount of time, but they typically don't hold true over long periods. So what we're gonna work on here is a system or a framework or a model that you can build one time, and then you can come to a great show like this and you can plug in the tips and tactics that you learn from all the speakers here and everybody that you talk to at the trade show, and then you can keep going exactly as you did before. Because as you move to having employees, what happens is you can't go retrain them every single time there's a new tip and trick, right? They needed the same system to operate from, and then we do something just a little different based on some knowledge. Maybe we're going to go into chatbots. Great. Well, most of the system, or 90%, 95% of the system is going to stay the same. If you're here because you're not paid traffic and you're looking for cheap traffic or viral traffic or anything like that, I don't do anything like that. I'm going to spend $1 and make $2 kind of guy. I've been doing that for quite a long time. And only pay attention to this if you want to build something really big. If you want to just make a couple of bucks and are looking for a trick to make $100 a day, this is probably not the presentation for you. My name is Jason Akatif, as he mentioned. I started in Black Hat SEO. Anybody know what Black Hat SEO is by a show of hands? Yeah. So I taught myself to code PHP. I'd find flaws in Google's and Bing's algorithm. I would then write code to automate doing that. Just a little fun story. One of my best Christmases ever in this industry was probably back in '04. I found out if you pointed a dig link at a Blogger blog, you could rank for any keyword in 6 hours. So what did I do? I went and made 100,000 Blogger blogs a day. I wrote the first Ajax CAPTCHA solver that an Indian in India would type in and hit enter, and it would have a little ticker that went up and tell them, and when they'd get to $20, they'd hit the PayPal cash out and it would pay them. We were making so many of these things, and then we would point the dig links at them. We went and we went and downloaded the database from ShareASale for all the electronics products. We did every permutation of the electronics products with buy or price or whatever it was. We shoved all those in. We put in scraped content, and we made quite a bit of money that Christmas. It was very, very good. I've been in performance marketing for 12 years. I was sued by the FTC in 2012. Most people might try and hide that thing for a fact. We ran $400-500 million in Nutra traffic, that is free trial rebuilds to advertorial pages and stuff like that. And my friends over at the FTC came and got me because they didn't really like that. I wasn't the merchant and I wasn't the affiliate. We were just the pipeline that the traffic went through. We only saw the clicks, but they said, hey, you're involved, buddy. You've got ill-gotten gains and we're going to come get them for you. I only settled for $1 million, but I had to get out of the business that we were in. A4D is a CPA network. We're also a product company. We're a CPA network that focuses on what I call grayish hat and white hat offers. We don't delve in the cloaking or any of that space. I have no interest in it. Gray hat stuff for me is anything that Facebook says yes to and then policy bans because it doesn't create a good user experience. You can run it for a little while and then it ends up stopping working. So we've been a CPA network since '08. We started our own media buying team. We've got an 8-person media buying division at our company since 2014. And then we really started in physical goods, that is manufacturing our own products, branding them, and importing them into the US. A lot of people talk about e-commerce at this show. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. Well, we're not building an e-commerce company. We're building a conglomerate of brands that own products. One of the channels that we are going to use for those brands is obviously direct to consumer because that's our background. We've rolled out about 7 products there and it's doing very, very well so far, and I think going to scale extraordinarily fast, and I'm going to build some tech and automation around that. I built just randomly on the side, I built 2 SaaS platforms. One's a video game called PlayStartupAlley.com. Teaches you the very basics of buying Facebook ads and building some stuff like that. I don't do much with it anymore. Being a serial entrepreneur, I keep opening more businesses, and all that does is it fragments my mind, right? I have to think about this, and I have to think about this, and I have to think about this, and I can't go deep on this thing. So I basically took those and put them on the shelf to focus on A4D. I've got 2 boys, 6 and 8. And by the way, I'm not a guru. I'm not a speaker. I don't have anything here, no products to sell you or anything like that. We would love it if you worked with us on the CPA side of the company or if you're a merchant. So these are rules to live by. If you can't readily and easily repeat it, it's not worth doing because it's not a business. A business is scaled with average people and amazing systems. So easily repeatable and easily doable things, well, they can be hard to do, but you can do them over and over with fairly formulaic approach. It just won't scale and it won't sustain without that. So we're going to talk about 4 things today: modeling and fundamentals for scale, steps for building systems, strategies to scale on Facebook, and then a little bit about how we do our postmortems on anything that we do. So modeling for scale, I mean, the first question that you have to ask yourself, and if you attended my talk yesterday, I'm not going to go into it deeply because a lot of you did. Building for scale is all about, how big do you want to go, right? Because how big you want to go is going to determine how much work you want to do in order to get there and how valuable it is to go through building all of these systems and all of these processes. And I would invite you to say, do I even want to do whatever I'm doing right now as a business, or maybe shift into something else, whether that's product or something else, if you're not doing product or lead gen or whatever it might be, in order to get that scale, that sustainability and that repeatability over time. So we're not doing that kind of model scaling. Models, well, that sucks. I just want to throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. But that doesn't create any repeatability, right? How many of us operate from that place? I remember when I started as an affiliate, it was just like, let's just throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. I did that for 4.5 years, and then I went and started to build a business, and then I hired my first employee, and I was like, throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. And he looked at me and was like, well, what do I even do to throw shit at the wall? Right? You can't iterate on it. You can't improve it. So if you don't have it written down, you don't have some kind of loose documentation, you don't have some kind of loose system, you can't go back and analyze it, tweak it, make it better, and iterate it. You can't train others without a system. You can't measure success or failure. It's just like, did the campaign work or not? You know what? I don't know. Yeah, I made money, I think. The affiliate network pays me. Models are evergreen, strategies and tactics are not. They're constantly changing. So I've had a shift in mindset over the last number of years, and that mindset for me has been, I used to be a deep guy. When something would hit, I would hit that thing, bam, as hard as I could. I'd knock it out of the park. The one thing I learned is when something's working, go as hard as you can. And the problem with this is if you look at the spike there, you make a bunch of money and then you go back to zero every time. I probably did this 15 to 20 times over my affiliate career. And then I did this 15 to 20 times as the affiliate network. And I thought to myself, this sucks. Because I keep having to restart, right? So, as you're considering whatever strategy you're going to go with moving forward, think about how could you do it wide, right? How could you build something that potentially stays there and then build another thing that on top of that and build another thing on top of that? One thing we're really considering inside of our product business is like, great, if I could get online and I could do, $200,000 in spend in a day, that's awesome. I'm excited. But guess what else? I show up on the top of which ads work, and you know what happens when that happens? You are doomed. Because every single one of you is trying to copy my business. Right? I know all of you because I am you, right? Because I've done it. So what we do is we go wide and then we stack, $2,000 profit a day products or $4,000, or where is that number where I don't show up on the radar anymore? And they just stack up like that over time. So advantages of a deep strategy, if you're a single person, more focused attention on one thing. Focus is the most powerful thing in the universe as far as I'm concerned. If you can get your undivided attention and undivided focus on something and ask yourself the right questions, you can make amazing things happen. It's easier to do with a single person, right? Like think of a single affiliate. Most affiliates can run one campaign at best, and maybe they get up to 3. And anything past that, it just is kind of like makes a couple of dollars on the side. Negatives, higher chance of negative user feedback on ads. I think a lot of people have talked to you today, you beat people over the head, with ads like at that level, and they start getting pissed off and they start Xing those things out and you start losing accounts. Even if you're a great business that's providing a great product, you're pissing people off and they don't like it. Sometimes you have to get aggressive to make that stuff work at that scale. Again, lose Facebook accounts. Short-lived campaigns with burnout, wide strategy, much more sustainable and predictable, and hard for a single person to run many different offers is kind of the negatives there, the opposite. So this next section I'm going to get into is how do I analyze my opportunities? So if I'm going to look at an offer to run, I'm going to look at a product to build. Like how do I look at those things and how do I make a decision? Should I go with this thing or not? Right? Because we've all got affiliate managers that are like, bro, this shit is killing it, man. You got to get on this deal before it gets burned out, right? So, I invite all of us to not be sheep, right? Not kind of drift with the herd. Oh, I heard these 3 affiliates told me this thing's killing it. But as soon as you hear that stuff, put that stuff through your system. Put that stuff through your filters and say, these are kind of some of the questions that I like to ask myself as I look at any opportunity. Number 1, does Facebook like it? We are at the Facebook Mastery Live event. Do they like the product? Because if they don't like the product, you're going to have to constantly fight and battle with them in order to make any progress. And it becomes very hard to stack those campaigns if you're just fighting losing accounts and account farms and dealing with all that bullshit. So is it compliant? These are the 2 main questions. Is it compliant with their rules? But even more than that, think about this for a second. Facebook's scariest thing in their whole entire world, and I don't know that they still feel this way, but I know they did in the beginning. Who do they not want to become? Does anybody have any idea? MySpace. They don't want to become MySpace. So what did MySpace do? They got a bunch of people on, by the way, MySpace was founded by spammers. And their whole idea was to build a community so that they could spam their users. That was the whole concept behind MySpace. Right? They didn't want to be MySpace. So MySpace created bad user experiences. There's pages that wouldn't load, and there's this. So Facebook, their utmost thing, Mark Zuckerberg's utmost thing, is to create amazing user experiences so that people want to spend more and more time on their site. So if anything that any of us do put that in jeopardy, even if it follows the compliance policies, it's going to get shut down sooner or later. So as you think about Facebook, think about, is this going to piss somebody off? I'm going to go run Trump ads to liberals, right? Probably going to piss somebody off. Maybe. Affiliate lead gen. So as you look at an offer, will there be potential issues with quality? Am I going to go put all this time into getting this lead gen product running? And when I get it running, I finally get it profitable. I've taken $5,000 in losses getting this thing profitable. I push a certain number of leads in, and the buyer on the other side is like, yeah, those leads suck, man. I don't want them. And not only that, I'm not going to pay you for them either. Is there very large cap or no cap? So if you can't really scale if there's a lot of caps on an offer, so there's some difficulties there. And then number 3, will I get paid? I've probably had about $5 or $6 million at this point in this business that I have not been paid since the beginning of time. The very first campaign I ran was refinance on Commission Junction. I made $45,000. I hadn't made any money in a year and a half trying to be successful at this business. And Commission Junction on day 30 that they're supposed to pay me disputes it and says they're not going to pay me. That was my first experience with affiliate marketing. That was awesome. E-commerce, can the manufacturers scale, right? Like, are you buying a product and they can only produce, 20,000 of them a month? I was sitting with a couple of the guys that helped sponsor put on this event last night, and I was sitting with one of their guys, and he's like, I built this pasta brand, but they can't make anymore, so there's not really much I can do with the business. And so can the manufacturer scale? Can my credit card processing or PayPal, will they hold your money for whatever, chargeback issues or anything like that? Do you have the money to buy the inventory? Like, should I get into the e-commerce business? Well, I don't have $100,000 to go chunk down on inventory. It might not be such a good idea, or maybe you can find a way. I'm a firm believer that's like, if I needed to find a way how to find the money to buy the inventory, what would I do? And the brain is really smart. It comes up with those answers. Another thing I like is I call this my fire hose strategy. And I like to buy on very large audiences and figure out how to put a message in front of them that engages them and also makes them feel good in some way. They connect with it, gets them to share, gets them engaged. So, is this product going to be a niche product? Yeah, it's moms in some small city in Germany, specifically for them. Probably not a very good niche to get into if you want to scale massive, right? That's a lot of work. So you need something that's going to sell to a broad market. I typically like to look at gender and age groups as my buckets. So can I sell this to 45 plus males? Can I sell this to 35 to 45 females? And I just bucket things that way. Now, as I go through the campaigns, I'll show you this a little later. We start on auto on these wide demographics and try and get it as profitable as we can. And then once we're there, then we start breaking it down into the submarkets and really crank up the profitability. Another thing is power of projections. So I think what a lot of affiliates do is they hear about an offer, they're like, okay, I'll try it. And they make some ads and they'll put those ads up, they'll run some traffic to it, and it won't work. And there's really no postmortem to be had there. That's not a system, right? That's not something that you can improve over time. So one of the things I invite all of you to start doing, if you're not doing it already, as you look at every campaign, and all I'm asking you to do is, before you start making ads and get the ads in there, take just 5 or 10 minutes of time and say, does it tick all these boxes of things that I'm looking to be involved with? And then also model out, is this thing going to be profitable? And we're going to build projections, and then we're going to get better at building projections by doing postmortems. You build your projections. So essentially, is the CPC going to be less than the conversion rate times the CPA, or also known as the EPC? I'm no math wizard. And then you've got the lower one, which is the CPC if you're running your own landing page. Is that going to be less than the conversion rate times the CPA from that? So at least put that into a model. I have a projections worksheet that we use. I'll tell you, I'll give it out to people. I think it's on my blog, or maybe if you want to sign up for my blog list, I'll email you my new ManyChat bot. But this is kind of our worksheet. I'm not going to go through it. You guys can play with it when you get it. It's got all the fields locked. It tells you kind of what CTRs you need to be at on your ads in order to make this campaign successful based on these assumptions. But it just gives you an idea before you start, and you go, oh, well, I'm coming in line, or I'm not coming in line with making that work. Here's another fundamental for success for me. After I run that model, that is the ROI I want to see. Does Facebook traffic and CPMs go up and down at all? I mean, for me, they're all over the map, right? And I want to be at a 50 to 100% ROI on anything that I'm looking at. If I model it out and I'm at a 20% ROI, that means I'm going to break even, and because that means I'm going to make money some days, and that means I'm going to lose money on other days. This is what I see on 1,000 leads, 1,000 sales a day. We see, and so for me, I want that insurance, right? I want that higher margin when I initially go out, because what's going to happen as you scale that campaign, the ROI on that campaign is going to go down, because you're going to start to burn out that audience at some point. They're going to click less. That's going to drive your CPC costs up. And I want to be able to run this thing for a fairly decent amount of time. And like I said there, Facebook's kind of moody with their CPMs and their auctions sometimes. I'll wake up one morning and we'll be at an $18 CPM, and then I'll wake up the next morning and we'll be at a $28 CPM. I think it might have something to do with engagement in ads, and I'll talk with you a little bit about that later. Oh, actually on this slide. High positive engagement, low negative. Actually, I kind of messed this slide up. But what Facebook is trying to accomplish, positive in Facebook's eyes, is shares, comments, and likes. As of right now, Facebook, and I heard this from 2 people that work at Facebook yesterday, as of right now, Facebook cannot determine whether your comments are bad or good, and they do not use that information. So as far as they're concerned, if somebody comments, that's engagement. Facebook likes engagement. So comments, shares, likes, and then they're looking at negatives is going to be X-outs or spam complaints when they go to the top right of the thing and they say, I don't want to see this anymore, or this is spam, or whatever that might be. Now, there's some questions I have in my mind that I don't have answers to, and if any of you guys have answers to this or have done these analyses, how is it done? How does Facebook, do they look at the ratio between X-outs and engagement, or like positive engagement and X-outs? Is there just a certain number, a hard number of X-outs they don't like? The other question is, do they take the ratio of those 2 things together and then drive your CPM? Because as you look at this down here before, all of our CPA stuff we run almost always has high positive engagement and high negative engagement. Who in this room, a lot of their ads have high positive, high negative? Yeah, a lot of you, right? If you blast something out to, tens or hundreds of millions of people, it just seems to happen. One of the things Facebook is doing, I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you create a bad user experience, but it's not so bad, they're going to make much more money off of you. And this is going to get worse in Q3 and Q4 from everybody I talked to on the rep side and the development side of Facebook. The CPMs are going to continue to drive up on anything that has high negative feedback, but still falls under the threshold of suspendable or bannable. High positive feedback. So in our e-commerce business, we see high positive, low negative. Our CPMs are $3 to $4 on the same demographic. Think about that for a second. I mean, that boggled my mind when I saw that. So one of the questions is, and I don't have an answer for this, but I like questions. One of the questions is, how do you go out there and get high positive feedback in order to keep your ratios in shape, and does that drive down your CPMs? That's a test all of you can go run and email me and let me know how it works. We're going to do it ourselves as well. Another thing is isolate something you know. If you're going to go get into something new, don't be like, all right, well, I run Facebook ads and dating, and I'm going to go run pops and pin submits. Isolate down in your systems to, I run Facebook traffic, and I run to this demographic, and I run this vertical, right? And then when you're ready to go to the next vertical because you think you've got that one figured out, stay with mostly the same stuff and just go pick a new vertical. Or stay with the same offer and come up with a new angle, same traffic source, same offer, and then go try and sell it to a different demographic. We had an offer called Pimsleur Approach. They had always only sold to women. It was a language learning product. We had an affiliate figure out how to sell it to men. He sold, $30 million worth of Pimsleur Approach and just in commissions over a 12 or 18 month period. They had never thought to try it on another demographic or try that angle. So don't change all your things at once. Scaling is easy if your EPC is high enough. How many of you are merchants in this room? Can I see raise of hands? Okay, we got some merchants. If your EPC is high enough, so for all you merchants that want affiliate traffic, your goal is to get your EPC to them as high as possible. Because the higher your EPC is, or CPA times conversion rate, so there's two levers there you can pull. You can make your pages convert better, or you can pay us a lot more money. I'll tell you this, the first one's a lot cheaper because you do it one time. So you should be investing heavily into conversion rate optimization. Obviously, if you're affiliates building bridge pages and landing pages, you should be doing this kind of stuff too. So increase your conversion rates and increase your profitability, because I think Ryan Deiss was the one that said it. It's like, there's never a traffic problem. There's lots of traffic. There's only a conversion problem and a user value problem. So steps to building a system. This is kind of just a little bit how I like to break down. I know there's a lot of like single affiliates. How many single affiliates do I have in the room? Yeah. Good number of you. A lot of times as an affiliate, we just sit in the grind, in the trenches, right? And we talk to this guy and we try this thing and we do this thing and we do this thing, but we don't ever think about a system. It's just something we do innately, internally to us. So I just wanted to give you a couple of steps to getting started with building your first system for those of you that are media buyers. So you want to write down each process. That is, as I see looking at a campaign growth, you've got your offer selection, you've got your traffic source selection. There's one thing in here I didn't put, persona. You want to build a persona. I think one of the previous speakers talked about who are you selling this product to. We like to do personas. We give them names. We give them, are they a family man? Do they have kids? What do they like to do? One of our brands is in the blue collar space. We sell, we'll sell tools and fishing stuff and hunting stuff and tactical stuff and so forth. So we have a very clear persona of who that person is, what kind of clothes they wear, what their family values are, and that kind of stuff. So you want to build a good persona. Then once you have your persona for that thing, then you do your ad creation. Then you've got to go through your creative approval process, campaign creation at that point, get the initial traffic on it, and then test and tweak, and then do your audience extension. So then I take each of these very top level processes, and then I do a what, how, who analysis. Who, if you have employees, who's going to do this thing, but more the what and the how. So then I start to dissect the first one down for you guys, just so you can see a bit how I do it. You can do it however you want. I like to use Lucidchart, which is like a flow chart, like this, if the system is complicated, or sometimes I'll just use an outline. You'll see here on the offer selection, there's how do we identify offers? We go out and spy in the marketplace, or we hear from AMs, or we network with other affiliates, or whatever those different channels are. And then we validate the offer based on all the stuff that I just told you previously. Then we build a ranking system with measurements of success for each of these steps in this process. And then once that's done, we'll do a postmortem. Did this thing work? Did it not work? And you want to do a postmortem for both, because you want to say, did this thing work? Did it work as good as we thought or better than we thought? And then you'll iterate on that same system or that same process. And guess what happens after a little while of doing this? It gets better and better and better, and you make better decisions, and you don't have to think about everything that you look at. You just put it through your process, and you go, oh, you should run this offer, it's killing it, and it's like, oh, it doesn't tick this box for me. I don't think it probably makes sense, or I need to change my process. Scaling strategies on Facebook. I just was going to talk about how we run our campaigns a little bit. Again, I am going to give you just a little bit of our tactics and what we do and how I view the world. We like to set up campaigns on very large audiences, $50 to $500 budgets. We run all auto bid. We don't run max CPA. I know some of you like to run max CPA with Campaign Labs. Campaign Labs is a pretty cool tool because it sets all the max bid price points all the way down, and then it optimizes for the best one of those. Some guys say they get better scale that way. For us, auto bid has worked really well, so we tried going that way. It didn't work that well, and so we stopped and went back to auto bid. We do know Audience Network as one of the questions up here to Maria was like, hey, when are you guys going to make Audience Network worth of crap? So just make sure you go in and unclick Audience Network, unclick IG. We typically are starting with, a lot of times we won't even run the right-hand side. We'll just run desktop newsfeed and mobile newsfeed. We'll set that up, and we'll just let it sit there for 3 to 5 days, and we'll let the algorithm kind of do its thing. And we have planned budgets in advance how much we're going to spend on a test for a campaign. And then we also have leading indicators based on that worksheet, where we can look at it and go, okay, this is an interesting KPI for you guys that we moved from. So we went from ad CTR to our initial test. We're really just looking at EPC and we're not looking at profitability, because profitability doesn't matter at that point, right? When you're in your testing phase, you just want to look at the EPC of the offer. So if your EPC is, say, if naturally, like from your experience, you can get clicks for anywhere from 20 cents to, I'm talking mostly about America. So I know a lot of other countries are different, so I'm using my numbers. 20 cents to 70 cents is kind of what we run, and I see a $1 EPC on an offer. Well, for me, that moves to the next phase in the system, because that just means we've got to get better ad CTRs in order to drive down the click cost. So just make sure you don't throw out things that potentially could be winners. I've heard a lot of strategies that are just put up a campaign and spend 3 times the budget and see if it's profitable, and it's like, that's a stupid plan if you ask me. Check CPMs, do they match the model, right? So here we're validating against our projections. Are you profitable? If you are profitable, we typically increase the budgets by 20% every other day. We'll do it every day if the CPAs stay the same with the 20% increase, but we often find Facebook's algorithm needs to go out and stretch their audience a little bit and find new users. So we like to let them do their thing. They're much better than we are at it. Yeah, you can see there on the bottom, let's sit 1 or 2 days. CPAs will usually go up in the beginning and then start coming back down afterwards. But Jason, I don't know CPCs and I don't know how to build this projection data. I would suggest you keep a list of CTR, CPMs, and CPCs for all of your ad sets and put it into a spreadsheet and update it regularly. So as you do your projections, you've got all that stuff there already. Those are some of our CPCs down below for what we're seeing. $18 to $22 CPMs, and these are all roughly at 5% CTRs. Granted, if you go to 7, 9, 12, 14% CTRs, it gets much, much cheaper. But, this is how we model because we don't always find those ads that get a 14% CTR. I want a very, very systematic approach, so I kind of do a stable, low, what we can almost expect every single time. And when we find winners, hey, that's amazing. A few tactics for you. Ad set duplication. We do that once we have a winning ad set. Somebody mentioned AA tests up here. I think that's really important as you set up an ad set. Make sure you set up anywhere from 4 to 5 of the exact same ad in that ad set, because the way the algorithm serves, like they'll serve 500 impressions. If you don't get a single click, they'll throw that ad out. But that's not nearly statistically relevant. So you have a much better chance of getting statistical relevance if you run multiple ad sets. Don't touch performing ad sets other than increasing budget. Don't do anything to them at all, ever. $100. This is from Ezra, and we follow the same process too. $100 a day per 100,000 in your audience size. So essentially, if you've got a 1 million person audience, you could probably get up to close to $1,000 a day without burning out the audience too quickly. So, if you want to spend $30,000 a day, you need a 30 million size audience. And if all else fails, make it convert better, right? Figure out how to monetize your users better. Capture data, upsells, cross-sells, videos, conversion rate optimization, so on and so forth. Then just a little bit about the postmortem. Because we built these projections on the front end, now we can go back after each and every campaign and we can say, we thought this was going to work, it didn't work, and why, right? Or we thought this was going to work, it worked way better than we thought. What specific attribute did this thing have that made it take off like wildfire? So you want to spend a lot of time afterwards, not a lot, but 10, 15 minutes really analyzing and abstracting out and asking a lot of questions about why this was a success or failure. With this process is how the systems get better. Your goal as an entrepreneur and as a media buyer, in my opinion, is to get everything to a place where you don't have to think about it. It's pretty cool, I came over here, I went to Montreal for the F1 races, and then I came here and I've been doing this for the last 4 or 5 days, and our numbers are continuing to go up in all 3 of our departments, right? They tell you, it's the dream, it's the lifestyle business, it's the this, right? For me, the lifestyle business is to build a real business that is managed well, that has proper systems, that runs itself, that's got great leadership, that allows you to work with amazing people, and you can go do whatever you want. I travel 100 days a year probably or more on vacations, and I have a big business. So this myth that I hear out there sometime, I don't believe in. I think those people are lazy. They just are like, I just want to make some easy money and do nothing, right? Build a great business, right? Create great things. Create great engagement for people. Make people happy. Make them love you. We have a very, very powerful gift that we can communicate with tens or hundreds of millions of people on a whim, right? That wasn't even possible years ago. So use that power for good and go build things that create good out there in the world and use these strategies for good. Want some free shit? marketing math worksheet that I showed that kind of educates you, that process, how to analyze a campaign and what those numbers up there I was putting down for those of you that are kind of new to this. Campaign planning worksheet that projects out what CTRs you're going to need in order to be profitable and successful on the campaign. That's there. Access to monthly CPM, CPC, CTR sheet for any of our affiliates that work with us at A4D. We provide them a spreadsheet that we track 2 times a month. We update that spreadsheet with the numbers. So if you want those and you're working in the US market, just hit us up, or if you want that and you want the formatting for it to build your own, we can do that as well. And then I'll send you a copy of this slide deck as well. I have my blog. I write to it probably 2 times a year, maybe 3. But I like to see when I write to it, like, oh, 400 people looked at it, so that makes me feel good. That's why I stand up here on stage and talk to all of you, because honestly, I want all of you to become better, and I like helping. You know, I feel like I've been really blessed by this industry and what it's provided me in my life, and you know, I want to help as many of you do that as possible as well. So if you would sign up for my newsletter at jasonaketif.com, I promise I won't spam you. You just get a notice when I write a new blog post. The latest post I put up was how to hire your first employee. Some of you were at the thing the other day. You know, the misnomer for by the way, how many of you, again, were single operators? Single operators? One of the scariest things you'll ever do in your life is hire somebody for the first time, right? Most people think of this like, okay, I'm going to hire this person. I'm making $250,000 a year. I'm a baller. And this person wants 60 grand. So now I'm going to make 190. Well, that sucks. I don't want to do that. Just kind of the wrong way to look at it. I talk about it in that post. The other mistake, I actually wrote like the top 5 mistakes that people make when they make their first hires. And another one of the huge mistakes I see made all the time is somebody goes and hires a media buyer as their first hire. I did this. The first hire I made was an affiliate manager. And he came in and I was just like, we'll just do all this stuff, right? Don't you know how to do this stuff already? And then I had to train him and do all this and yada, yada, yada. And then I hired the next person and I was just like, do all this stuff. And the same thing happened again. So in the blog post I talk about, and I think this is interesting and important because it's something that changed my life. I believe your first hire should be an operations person. That is somebody to build the business, to build the systems, to build the strategies that you give them, right? Because you should be working on making the money, coming to these events, talking to everybody, figuring out what's next. Hey, we got to get into the chatbot scene, right? Like I'll go back to my operations people and be like, we got to get into the chatbots, right? That shit looks amazing, right? We got to get in there. And then they'll say, well, what is a chatbot and how does it work? And I will go back and play with it and figure it all out. And I'll go, here's what we're going to do. And then I'll tell them, and then they'll write it all down and they'll build a system for it. And I don't have to. I said I was going to do that for many, many years. How am I doing on time, Eric?
You're good. Like, you're just giving away so much great stuff. I want to give the audience another opportunity for a quick Q&A.
Yeah.
You ready for that?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, let's give them a big round of applause. Knowledge bombs per second in that talk were just off the charts. That was fantastic. Thank you. Cool. Raise your hand if you got a question for Jason. Anyone? Oh no. He just answered all of your questions, I guess. Nobody? Well, if you do, we got one here. We got the same two, usual suspects. We got a mic coming your way.
Hi there. You mentioned that when an ad set is performing in a campaign, you don't really touch it except for increasing the budget, like of the campaign. 2 questions. When you say like you absolutely don't touch it, like increase the budget, like do you have a strategy for that?
I mentioned it. We do 20% increases.
Okay.
Every other day.
Every other day or 24 hours?
But if the CPA holds on the next day,
right,
we'll do a 20% increase. But typically what we're seeing is we increase it 20%. CPA jumps up a little bit, Facebook goes out, does its magic, finds whoever the people are, and then it starts to come back down. And then at that point, we go 20% again, and that's how we scale up our budgets.
Nice. It's funny, back in my media buying days, whenever I'd touch something that was running well, we used to call it Lennying. Have you ever seen Of Mice and Men? Where he's got the puppies, and he's like, I love this puppy so much, I just want to hug it and squeeze it, and he breaks his neck. That's what you do with campaigns sometimes. When you make too many changes, you Lenny them. So hopefully we can make that catch on.
Am I up? I guess I am. Question regarding, you talked about hiring in different departments. I think you said you have 3 departments. Obviously you have the affiliate network, you media buy. Could you kind of touch on how you grew from 1 department to 3 and then how that evolved? And what those are?
Absolutely. Very, very painfully, because I made a lot of mistakes. Right? I can only stand up here and tell you all this stuff because I've fucked it all up so bad. I've done everything wrong in the book over the years. So what I've found works best for us is finding somebody that is a really knowledgeable person that knows the industry, that knows the people, that knows how the things work, that knows how the stuff's put together. That person is Mike Pavez for me on the network side of the business. He's amazing. Mike, where are you at? Oh, Mike's over there. He's amazing. And Mike Pavez. But understanding Mike's almost like an entrepreneur. Mike's not an operations guy. Took us a long time to figure that out. But then I went and I found a great operations guy that knew nothing about the business, paired him with Mike, and they've come together to really create an amazing thing as two. To the point that I really am not involved with the network much anymore, other than to just make suggestions on higher level strategy type stuff, and potentially where we should be going, and potentially who the humans are that we're dealing with, and some stuff like that I view at a higher level. So then that got that way, and then I went and hired media buying's a little bit different because we're still going through the process on finding the right operations and the right leader in that division. We had an amazing guy that was an affiliate. He was actually the internal buyer for Ancestry for 6 years and did like $1.3 billion in online sales, but he had to move back to his home state. So I've got to find another person, but I've had him paired with kind of an operational statistician type person. And then when I went and when I wanted to build a product department, I went and I found a woman. She'd worked in product for 30 or 35 years. She was president or CEO of No Fear clothing line. I believe she was VP of product development at Lego. She had built 2 MMA clothing brands, but she knew nothing about this industry. So about 80 or 90% of my time. So she's exceptional operationally, exceptional on product manufacturing and safety testing and importation and all of that stuff. She's amazing at. She's amazing at retail. She literally didn't know a thing about what we do when she started. So I've put myself currently, my role I see is serving the same role that Mike serves with her, and us working together to make that successful, and it's working very well.
So on that, do you find that you chase opportunities like you said, so you put yourself in a support position often?
No.
No?
That's really the only thing. I run the company from a high level, so I meet with my leaders probably 15 minutes a day. We have scheduled 1-hour meetings every single week. No, I don't. They run autonomously, right? Media semi runs autonomously. Here's something, by the way, that's just another little tidbit, that if you don't do this, and I would write this one down, it will change your life. If you don't run daily stand-ups with your teams, and you don't want them to get more than 10 people, so figure out how to break those things out. So like we have an AEM one, affiliate manager one, and we have a biz dev one, and then we have a media one, and we have a product one. What happens if you don't run daily stand-ups is you talk to somebody, you tell them what you want them to do, and then maybe you don't talk to them about that thing for 2 or 3 days, and what happens is they drift because they make 3 or 4 or 5 decisions in those 3 days, and you wanted them to go here, and they thought they were going here, and they wound up over here. So if you can, and I think all of us can, the most important thing that you can do inside of your companies, if you don't already do this, is daily stand-ups in every single department. And you as the CEO should be attending them from time to time, depending what your focus is. You know, I try and get in at least one of each one per week. And then when a department's struggling, I try and get in there 2 or 3 times a week. But that lets me touch all the people, that lets me hear what the communication and the conversations are about, and people feel supported. That word, a lot of times you'll hear employees and they'll be like, well, I just don't feel supported here. Daily stand-ups fix that problem. That lets people talk about whatever it is that their problems are and how they're stuck. That gives them an open forum to do that. And as long as you're supportive and nurturing in those daily stand-ups, you'll build really great people.
Nice. Thank you, Jason. Cheers. Okay.